Hello students, welcome back to Chemistry online classes. Today's session we will begin with the fourth chapter, the materials, metals and non-metals. When you look around, you can see the different variety of materials. Some are very beautiful, like flowers. This is very beautiful. And some are very soft to touch. Okay, what is that? This is a cotton lump. It is very soft to touch. But some materials are very hard. You can see, very hard material. And some materials, it will produce sound. Anyway, we are going to classify the materials into two categories. The materials can be classified into metals and non-metals. So based on some properties, we are going to classify some materials into metals and some materials into non-metals. So what are the properties of metals? How metals looks like? What are the appearance? Are they shine? Are they produce sound? Or how the non-metal is different from metals? For that, we need to clarify some physical properties. So based on some external properties, we are going to classify the materials into metals and non-metals.
There are so many materials around us, isn't it? When you list out, you can see some materials are plastics, some are wooden materials. Okay, here you can see some are made up of glass. So many varieties of materials you can see. As I told you in the earlier, you can list out those materials separately, right? So, let's divide the materials into two, metals and non-metals. How these metals and non-metals have been classified? Yes, on the basis of physical properties and chemical properties. Today we are going to discuss the physical properties of this metals and non-metals. So what are physical properties? As I told you earlier, the external appearance, how they looks like, are they soft, are they hard? These properties we are going to discuss. Okay, chemical properties we will discuss later. Okay. Okay, here we have list out some materials. The table 4.1. Iron, coal, sulphur, aluminium, copper, and one more thing we can add, it's wood. Okay, now by looking at the appearance and how they touch, how they feel to touch, based on that, let's categorize them. If you take the metals like iron, aluminium, and copper, so when you cut these metals, you can see it is shiny and this will be hard also. Okay, so metals are shiny and they are hard. Okay, the shiny appearance of the metals is called metallic luster. So the metals are luster. Now let's list out some materials and understand. Look at here. What is this? This is coal. Coal means what? Coal means kalkari. Okay, are they looks shiny? This is sulphur. Sulphur powder. Sulphur is an element. It is in the powdered form. But children, already we have categorized the materials which are shiny and hard are metals. Okay, the shiny appearance and the hard materials are metals. And what are non-metals? They are soft and non-lustrous. The coal, sulphur, wood are categorized into non-metals. They looks like dull and they are soft to touch. Okay. So what are the first physical property? Metals are hard to touch. They are lustrous. And non-metals are soft and dull. Now let's move on to the second physical property. For that you need to have a hammer, iron nail, a piece of charcoal, an aluminium wire and a pencil is required. So what we are going to do is we are just hammering these materials. Okay, when you hammer these materials, some materials are broken down easily and some will become a sheet like this. What is this? നിങ്ങൾക്കൊരു മരുന്നിൻ്റെ സ്ട്രിപ്സ് കാണാം അല്ലേ? This is the aluminum foil sheet and some can be made into weapons like axe and iron shovel and all. So what is this property, children? Only metal will exhibit this property, that is malleability. The property of metal by which they can be beaten into thin sheets, that is the only property of malleability, that is only property of metals. So metals അടിച്ചു പരത്തിയിട്ട് നമുക്ക് എന്താക്കാൻ പറ്റും? ഷീറ്റ്സ് ആക്കി മാറ്റാൻ പറ്റും. Okay, and non-metals like coal and pencil, they are very soft. So by the time you hammer it, it will break down. They are brittle. So non-metals are brittle and metals are, yes, malleable. So iron nail can change the shape. So the second physical property, metals are malleable and the non-metals are non-malleable or they are brittle. Okay. Now let's study the next physical property. For that, take a frying pan which is made up of any metal. So after that, hold the pan in a gas burner. Switch on the gas burner and wait for some times. So after some times, you just touch the frying pan. Is it possible? No, you cannot touch it. Why? Here you can see that the metals are conduct heat. So you are not able to touch it directly. But if you hold the handle of the cookware, you can touch it easily because it is non-metal. So non-metals are bad conductors of heat. Okay. Here the circuit you have learned in the lower classes, right? Look at the connection from the battery and bulb. In between you can see an iron nail. Why they put iron nail in the electric tester? Because iron is a metal which is a good conductor. So metal conduct electricity. Then only the bulb glows. Instead of iron nail, if you keep a piece of charcoal, will it conduct? No. So metals are good conductors of heat and electricity and non-metals are poor conductors of heat and electricity. Okay. So this is the next physical property, the important physical property. So now the next property, take aluminium wire. Okay, and you can see the copper wire also. So why copper wire is used inside? Because of some property we are using copper wire inside, because it is ductile. Metals are ductile means it can be drawn into thin wires. Only metals can have this property. Okay, now did you see that bell which is there in your school and which is there in the temple and all? Why they are using iron? Because metals are sonorous. Only metals can produce sound. Is it possible to keep a wooden bell? No, which does not produce any sound. So only metals are producing sound. So you can say that metals are sonorous and non-metals are non-sonorous. Okay, list out the property. So this is the physical property. Please note this in your lecture notebook and study well before live class. Okay. Students, there are some exceptional cases in metals and non-metals. We have already learned that metals are very hard and they are solid. But there are two exceptions. Sodium and potassium are soft metals. നമ്മൾ പഠിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട് മെറ്റൽസ് ഒക്കെ ഹാർഡാണെന്ന്. പക്ഷേ സോഡിയം ആൻഡ് പൊട്ടാഷ്യം അത് മെറ്റൽസ് ആണ്. വി ക്യാൻ കട്ട് ഇറ്റ് വിത്ത് എ നൈഫ്. ഓക്കെ, സിൻസ് ദീസ് ടു ആർ സോഫ്റ്റ് മെറ്റൽസ്. വൺ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ഈസ് ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ് ഫ്രം ദിസ് ചാപ്റ്റർ. So what are the soft metals? Sodium and potassium. And the other exception is mercury. Mercury is a metal but it is a liquid state. We have learned all metals are in solid state, but mercury is the metal which is a liquid at room temperature.